The one trick that work salvationists always pull is they go to the Bible and take verses out of context and twist them and use them as proof texts to support their false gospel. Well, what if I were to tell you that there's a few verses in the Bible that sound like they support work salvation, yet at the same time, these verses are hated and detested by work salvationists and lordship salvation believers alike? One of these verses happens to be Matthew chapter 5, verse 48, where Jesus says, "Be therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect." Now, this sounds like it supports work salvation. You have to be perfect. You have to be completely sinless. But work salvationists absolutely hate this because it doesn't only condemn people that they want to condemn, it condemns themselves. Because why is this? Nobody is perfect. Romans 3:10 says there's none righteous, no, not one. Romans 3:23 says, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Ecclesiastes 7:20 says that there is not a just man upon earth that doeth good and sinneth not. Obviously, work salvationists know that they themselves are not perfect, which is why they absolutely hate this verse and detest this verse, perhaps even more than the verses that prove eternal security and grace alone through faith alone. Because this verse completely destroys their entire framework, their entire false gospel, and it exposes them, too, for the frauds that they are and for the wicked sinners that they are themselves. And this is actually very reminiscent to when the Pharisees tried to stone that woman in adultery back in John chapter 8. And in John chapter 8, verse 9, it talks about how these Pharisees were convicted by their conscience, and they ended up choosing not to stone her because they knew that they themselves were wicked sinners. Maybe not necessarily doing the same sin that this woman was doing, but perhaps other sins, perhaps even worse sins. And the fact of the matter is no one is perfect except for Jesus Christ himself. The only man who is perfect was Jesus Christ and is Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ is God. What many of these work salvationists and lordship salvationists will do is they'll turn around and say about Matthew chapter 5, verse 48, well, it doesn't mean literally perfect. Obviously nobody's perfect. It just means you should try to be perfect. That's not what the verse says. That's not what Jesus Christ said. He said, be therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Jesus is commanding us to be perfect. If we aren't perfect, if we aren't completely sinless, we are going to go to hell. Revelation chapter 21, verse 27 says that nothing that is sinful, nor abominable, nor anything that maketh a lie will enter into the kingdom of heaven. So if you're completely perfect, you will actually go to heaven, and you have earned your spot in heaven on your own accord. But we know that no one is perfect. We know that not one person has walked this earth without sin other than Jesus Christ himself. So anyone who has fallen short of the glory of God and sinned even just once, that person has earned their spot in hell. It doesn't matter how much they choose to not practice sinning or whatever that even means. It doesn't matter how much they try to prove they're saved. That person is still going to hell if they have not believed on the Lord Jesus Christ and have not trusted in him alone to get them to heaven. And if you're someone who's not 100% certain that you're going to heaven, I have some wonderful news for you. You can be today. I encourage you to watch the linked video down below where you can know how to secure your spot in heaven today. Once your spot in heaven is secured, it'll be secured and secured forever. And really, Matthew chapter 5, verse 48 is the number one verse that work salvationists and lordship salvationists especially detest. This is probably a verse that they hate even more than John 5:24, because this verse completely convicts them and exposes them for the sinners that they are.